So the Biden administration is looking into a plan B for student loan forgiveness, even though everybody and their mother last year told them that this was probably not going to be upheld in the Supreme Court. God help us. What's up, YouTube? I'm debt-free Joel. On today's video, we're going to talk about President Biden's Plan B, possibly, for student loan forgiveness. If you're new to this channel is dedicated to one thing and one thing only, which is to make you more money, whether it be through saving, whether it be through investing, but most importantly, whether it be to giving back to others. So, without further ado, let's get to it. So in case you've been living under a rock, you know that the student loan program that Joe Biden has tried to instill was struck down by the Supreme Court on June 30th, right? They tried to use the HEROES Act, which was enacted during the Iraq War, that allows the Secretary of Education to modify or waive any type of student loans. And this was struck down by the Supreme Court. And many people, if you've been watching my channel, knew this was coming. So the Biden administration is working on a Plan B. Now, I'll tell you guys in advance, I think the Plan B has more validity than the HEROES Act route that they were trying to go, because you actually go back to the core of what the modern U.S. college funding system actually is. So the Plan B that's being floated around the President Biden's administration right now is what's called the Higher Education Act. Like I mentioned before, this is the foundation of modern U.S. college funding, right? So if you think about how our college system is set up now from a funding standpoint, you can point back to President Lyndon B. Johnson in 1965 enacting this act. So what that act actually has in the language is that the Secretary of Education can waive, modify, and I'm looking down here, or release federal student loans. That release part is going to be that key part, and also the waive. So what the Biden administration is going to look into is saying, all right, we're not going to use the HEROES Act. I don't have to wait for an emergency for me to actually instill or enact any type of student loan forgiveness. I can use the actual act, again, it's the Higher Education Act, to allow the Secretary of Education to, again, waive, modify, or release federal student loans. Now, the Biden administration has been using this already. If you've been following the news, what the Biden administration has been good at, if you want to give them credit for, is letting people know when they forgave student loans in extreme cases. So think about those colleges where they frauded out the students, right? So I think there was one college where 300,000 students got their student loans forgiven. I think it was about, I don't know if it's $6 billion or something like that in total dollars that is, because the students were frauded by the college. So the Biden administration has been working using that program to forgive student loans. If you think about the Higher Education Act, also think about any type of people that you know that are on the income repayment plan. So if you've been noticing, the Biden administration has been giving you reasons to believe them as it pertains to the forgiveness of student loans via the income repayment plan. Under this act, they have the ability to adjust so that people who make over a certain amount or a percentage of your income that's paid over time will be able to forgive your student loans. That's where that act came from. The other way to think about it is think about anybody in public service. So public service, I think it's about after 10 years or 120 consecutive payments, you get your first student loans forgiven. So that act has enabled both of those types of things. So what the Biden administration wants to do, again, I don't care how you think about it, this may actually work, is that they're going to use the Higher Education Act, or at least they should, to allow the Secretary of Education to waive, modify, or release federal student loans. Now, what is the time frame for this? Well, this is going to be a little bit different, because I think there's about two routes that they can go through. The first is that they'd have to go through Congress, and well, anything that goes through Congress is going to be politically motivated. It's going to be an absolute nightmare, and it's going to give you a headache. But that would be the route that I would suggest, right? Go through Congress, allow both Republicans and Democrats to come to the table, to come out with a way to forgive student loans in a bipartisan manner via certain regulations. It can't just be broad and sweeping, can't just be that everybody gets their student loans forgiven. Okay, that's not going to happen. But I do believe one way is for them to go through Congress. The second way, I believe, is more of an edict from the President of the United States, or whether it be the Secretary of Education, And that could draw out for a year as well, because it could be, going to necessarily go to court. It's going to be challenged in the courts. It might end up in the Supreme Court again, blah, 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 blah. So the likelihood is that they're going to use the Higher Education Act. They're going to go through Congress. They're going to put pressure on Republicans in Congress to meet them halfway, since they do have the lawful ability, at least the Secretary of Education has the ability to waive, modify, or release these student loans. Now, that's going to be about a year of this. And ironically, a year from now is what? The elections. So you can see this being a politically motivated issue going into the 2024 elections. I don't anticipate any type of forgiveness before that. So what are the things you need to consider? Number one, you need to prepare for those student loan repayments. Number two, do not depend on the federal government to forgive your student loans, because, hey, they didn't do it already. The other thing to consider too is that interest is going to start on those student loan repayments in September, and those payments are going to start in October. So again, this plan B to me seems a lot more viable, but I'll leave it up to you. What do you guys think? Leave your comments below and let's go from there. And that's it. That's my time. If you like these type of videos, cool. Click the like and subscribe button. Also, feel free to follow me on Instagram. It's the same name as YouTube, @DebtFreeJoel. We put a ton of information out there on saving, on investing, and most importantly, on being charitable. So, until next time, just remember, you got food at home.